What happens when silence stops being something you fear and becomes proof that you can finally control yourself? Most men never think about it this way. They believe the problem is that she became inconsistent, that she started replying differently, giving less attention, showing warmth one day and distance the next. So they focus entirely on her behavior. They ask what changed, what they did wrong, whether they should text again, whether they should explain themselves better. But while they study her every move, they miss the one thing that matters most. Their own reaction has become automatic. Every connection develops a rhythm. Someone pulls back and someone closes the distance. Someone delays and someone waits. Someone gives less and someone tries to compensate by giving more. Once that pattern repeats enough times, both people learn their positions without ever discussing them. And if you're always the one restoring contact, restarting conversations, offering reassurance, or accepting less because you're afraid of losing the connection, then the relationship has already taught the other person something about you. It has taught them that distance will not cost them access to you. This is why receiving crumbs can become so confusing. You're not being rejected completely. If you were, the decision would be easier. Instead, you're receiving just enough to remain hopeful. A warm message appears after days of distance. A plan gets mentioned but never becomes definite. Affection returns just when you're considering walking away. So you stay, telling yourself patience will eventually be rewarded. You call it understanding. You tell yourself mature people don't overreact. But somewhere along the way, patience turns into permission. And that's where Stoicism becomes useful. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that the first battle is not with the event, but with the judgment we attach to it. Her silence may be outside your control. Your decision to panic, chase, explain, or abandon your standards is not. The moment you understand that distinction, you stop asking how to force the relationship back into place and start asking whether the place you occupied was worthy of you at all. In this video, we're going to break down 9 stages of what happens when you stop chasing inconsistent attention and reclaim control of your own behavior. You'll understand why crumbs reveal your position, how your reactions reinforce the pattern, why pulling back may produce no immediate response, what real silence actually requires, and what changes when you stop making yourself available on command. This isn't about punishing a woman or trying to manufacture obsession. Stoicism is not a collection of tricks for controlling another person. Epictetus would bring the question back to the only place where genuine authority exists: your own choices. Can you control whether she reaches out? No. Can you control whether you chase every time she doesn't? Absolutely. And if you value lessons on Stoicism, relationships, discipline, and self-respect, subscribe to Stoic Heritage, because the first lesson changes everything. Crumbs are not merely about what someone gives you. They also reveal what you have repeatedly agreed to accept. First, understand this clearly. Crumbs are not proof of deep love being held back. They are information about the position you currently occupy. When someone repeatedly gives you limited attention, uncertain plans, irregular affection, and just enough contact to keep the connection alive, the important question is not what they secretly feel. The important question is what their consistent behavior is telling you. Most men get trapped because they keep searching for an explanation that allows them to remain hopeful. She is busy. She has been hurt before. She is afraid of commitment. She doesn't know how to express herself. Maybe all of those things are possible, but notice what happens when explanations become more important than experience. You stop judging the relationship by what is actually happening and start judging it by what you hope might eventually happen. Think about the pattern rather than the best moments. Maybe she can be incredibly warm when you're together, but disappears afterward. Maybe she sends affectionate messages late at night, but avoids making real plans. Maybe she tells you that you're important, yet you're constantly wondering when you'll hear from her again. Those rare moments of closeness become powerful because they interrupt the distance. Instead of asking why normal affection feels like such a relief, you become grateful simply because it returned. That's how expectations get lowered, not in one dramatic decision, but through small adjustments. You stop expecting consistency because you don't want to seem demanding. You stop mentioning what bothers you because you're afraid she'll pull away further. You begin celebrating things that once would have been normal. Eventually, you're working harder to preserve access than the other person is working to build the connection. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself to look at things as they actually are, stripped of the stories we attach to them. Apply that here. Don't ask what a delayed reply symbolizes. Don't build an entire future around one affectionate evening. Look at the pattern. Is the person showing up consistently? Is effort moving in both directions? Do their actions make the relationship clearer or keep you permanently guessing? And this isn't about blaming her. People usually continue patterns that work. If minimal investment continues receiving maximum availability from you, there is little reason for the structure to change. Your tolerance becomes part of the arrangement. Every time you accept the same treatment without changing your own participation, you confirm that the arrangement remains acceptable. The painful part is admitting that you may have helped build the position you now dislike. But that admission is also freeing, because anything you helped build through your choices can be changed through different choices. You don't need her permission to raise your standards. You don't need a final argument before you stop over-investing. The moment you recognize that, the question changes. Instead of asking, "Why won't she give me more?" you begin asking, "Why am I continuing to invest heavily where consistency is missing?" That question gives you something the first question never could: responsibility for your next move. You cannot force someone to value you differently, but you can stop participating in a position that requires you to accept less than you genuinely want. Second, inconsistency often reveals where your boundaries actually are. You may believe you have strong standards. You may say you would never tolerate disrespect, never chase someone who isn't interested, never remain where effort is one-sided. But standards aren't measured by what you say when everything is calm. They're measured by what you do when you're afraid of losing someone. This is why small moments matter. A message goes unanswered longer than usual, and you immediately send another one. Plans get canceled at the last minute, and you rearrange your schedule again. She becomes distant, and instead of observing the change, you increase your effort. You become more affectionate, more available, more reassuring. You're trying to restore what was there before, but each reaction communicates something. When she reduces effort, you will increase yours. Now, don't make the mistake of assuming every delayed reply or canceled plan is some calculated test. People have jobs, responsibilities, bad days, family problems, and lives outside relationships. Stoic judgment requires you to distinguish an isolated event from a repeated pattern. The problem isn't one late message. The problem is what happens when inconsistency becomes normal and your response is always to chase harder. That's when the dynamic starts teaching both people something. She learns that pulling back doesn't threaten the connection because you'll close the distance yourself. You learn that anxiety can be relieved by reaching out again. Each person becomes conditioned by the pattern. Eventually, you may not even realize you're reacting. Your hand reaches for the phone before your judgment has had time to speak. And this is where self-control becomes more important than strategy. If you're only holding back because you want to trigger a reaction, you're still being controlled by the outcome. You're still watching the phone, counting hours, wondering whether the silence is working. That's not Stoic discipline. That's chasing without sending the message. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when you stop placing your well-being in things controlled by someone else. Her response is controlled by her. Your behavior is controlled by you. That distinction sounds obvious until you're staring at a conversation and fighting the urge to send another message because uncertainty feels unbearable. Sometimes, the strongest boundary is simply refusing to compensate for another person's lack of effort. If she wants to speak with you, allow her room to speak. If she cancels, let her participate in rescheduling. If communication becomes one-sided, stop doing both sides of the work. This doesn't require hostility. It requires enough self-respect to let another adult carry their share. You don't need an argument. You don't need to announce a new policy. Just stop carrying what requires two people. Because every time you rescue a connection from the consequences of someone else's low investment, you prevent yourself from learning what would happen if you didn't. Maybe she steps forward, maybe she doesn't. Either answer is more valuable than remaining trapped in uncertainty while you manufacture the appearance of mutual interest. Sometimes the answer you're afraid to discover is exactly the answer that gives you your freedom back. Third, chasing doesn't create reciprocity. This is one of the hardest lessons to accept, because effort is rewarded in so many other areas of life. Work harder at a skill, and you usually improve. Train consistently, and your body changes. Study longer, and you increase your chances of understanding the material. So men carry the same logic into relationships. If the connection is weakening, they assume more effort must be the answer. But relationships don't work like a personal goal, because another person's willingness is involved. You cannot work hard enough for two people. You cannot communicate enough to manufacture someone else's interest. You cannot compensate for missing reciprocity by doubling your own contribution. Yet that's exactly what happens. She replies less, so you become more interesting. She seems uncertain, so you become more reassuring. She stops initiating, so you make sure the conversation never dies. You start believing that if you can just demonstrate enough patience, loyalty, emotional intelligence, or value, she'll eventually recognize what she has and begin matching you. Sometimes people do respond positively to genuine effort. But if you've been carrying the connection for months, ask yourself what your effort has actually produced. Has it created mutual investment, or has it simply made your availability dependable? There's a difference between being consistent and being permanently accessible. Consistency means your character doesn't change with every mood. Permanent accessibility means someone can offer very little and still receive the full benefit of your attention. Once access to you requires no effort, you may begin doing emotional work the other person never agreed to share. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly about governing impulses rather than obeying them. The impulse here is urgency. Something feels uncertain, so you want to act immediately. Send the message. Ask what's wrong. Explain what you meant. Reassure her that you're still there. But before you act, ask what you're trying to accomplish. Are you communicating something necessary, or are you trying to escape the discomfort of not knowing? That pause matters because anxiety often disguises itself as effort. You can tell yourself you're fighting for the relationship when you're really fighting against the possibility that the relationship may not be what you hoped. If you've expressed interest clearly, you don't need to prove it every day. If you've invited her to participate, you don't need to keep dragging the connection forward when she doesn't. Let actions answer questions words have failed to answer. This doesn't mean becoming distant as a performance. It means refusing to confuse persistence with value. Your value doesn't increase because you're willing to accept indefinite uncertainty, and someone doesn't become more interested simply because you've made yourself impossible to lose. When you stop chasing, you aren't necessarily gaining leverage over another person. You're gaining something more useful, accurate information. You finally get to see how much of the connection continues when you're no longer supplying all the momentum. And whatever that reveals, you are better off knowing it than spending another year mistaking your own effort for mutual commitment. Fourth, here's the part that can make you question everything. You finally stop chasing, and nothing happens. No sudden message, no apology, no dramatic realization. She doesn't immediately ask where you've been. Maybe several days pass and the phone stays exactly as quiet as it was before. That's usually when anxiety starts negotiating with you. You think, maybe I took this too far. Maybe she thinks I don't care. Maybe I should send one message, just so she knows I'm not angry. And before long, you're back in the same position, restoring the contact yourself. But there is another possibility you need to consider. If you've always been the person who eventually reaches out, why would one short period of silence immediately change her expectations? History has taught her what usually happens. You become uncomfortable. You wait for a while, then you return. One pause doesn't erase months of predictable behavior. This doesn't mean she's secretly panicking or that silence guarantees she'll miss you. That's exactly the kind of certainty you need to stop chasing. She may reach out, she may not. The purpose of stepping back is not to force a specific reaction. It's to stop repeating a behavior that has been costing you self-respect. This is where Stoic discipline becomes real. It's easy to talk about detachment when you're receiving reassurance. It's much harder when you don't know what the outcome will be. Epictetus would ask, what belongs to you in this situation? Not her decision, not her feelings, not whether she misses you tonight or 3 weeks from now. What belongs to you is whether you abandon your own judgment because silence makes you uncomfortable. If you decided to step back because the relationship had become one-sided, then give that decision enough time to reveal something. Don't measure success by whether she contacts you. Measure it by whether you can remain aligned with what you already recognized. And pay attention to what the silence teaches you about yourself. How often do you check your phone? How quickly does your mind invent explanations? How strong is the urge to do something merely because doing nothing feels unbearable? Those reactions are useful information. They show you where your emotional dependence has been hiding. Sometimes she will reach out when the familiar pattern changes. Sometimes she won't. Either result gives you clarity. If she does, you can observe whether her behavior actually changes or whether she's simply reopening the same cycle. If she doesn't, you've learned that much of the connection may have depended on your effort. That can hurt, but it is still better than maintaining an illusion indefinitely. Neither answer requires you to lose yourself. Because pulling back isn't powerful because it makes somebody chase you. It's powerful because for once, you stop chasing an answer and allow reality to give you one. And when reality answers, your job is not to argue with it. Your job is to decide what kind of life you will build with what you now know. Fifth, silence isn't just about not sending a message. A lot of men stop texting, but continue doing everything else. They watch every story. They check when she was last online. They notice who liked her posts. They revisit old conversations. They keep their phone close because they're waiting for the notification that will justify the entire withdrawal. From the outside, they're silent. Internally, nothing has changed. That's why silence can become another form of obsession if you're not careful. You may tell yourself you're reclaiming control while your entire day is still organized around what she might do next. You're not speaking to her, but she's still determining your mood, your attention, and your thoughts. Real withdrawal starts when you stop feeding that loop. You don't need to dramatically block someone just to prove you're serious. You don't need to unfollow her as a performance and then check her profile through another account. You don't need to post quotes designed to make her wonder whether they're about her. All of that is still communication. It's indirect communication, but you're still trying to produce a response. Stoicism asks for something harder. Act according to your principles even when nobody is watching. If you've stepped back because you recognize that your attention was being taken for granted, then use the space for your own life. Return to work you've neglected. Train. Read. Spend time with people whose company doesn't leave you guessing where you stand. Handle responsibilities that became secondary while you were monitoring a relationship. And if these lessons are helping you see relationships and self-control differently, subscribe to Stoic Heritage. We use Stoic wisdom to build discipline, self-respect, and a mind that doesn't have to react to every change in another person's behavior. The goal is not to create a mysterious image. The goal is to stop living in reaction. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly brought his attention back to the task directly in front of him. That's a useful discipline here. When your mind starts asking, "Has she noticed?" bring it back. When you want to check whether she posted something, bring it back. When you begin imagining what she might be thinking, bring it back. You have work to do that has nothing to do with being missed. And something important happens when you actually practice this. Whether she reaches out becomes less important than it was at the beginning. You begin noticing how much mental space the situation had occupied. You realize that peace wasn't waiting inside her next message. It was waiting inside your ability to stop requiring that message before you could continue your day. You also begin rebuilding trust in yourself. You said you were going to step away from a pattern that was damaging you, and now your actions match your decision. That matters. Every day you keep a promise to yourself makes the next promise easier to keep. That's real silence. Not a tactic, not punishment, not hovering from a distance. It's what happens when you stop giving a situation more attention than it deserves and start giving that attention back to your own life. Sixth, when a familiar pattern changes, attention often changes with it. Human beings notice disruptions. If something happens every morning and suddenly stops, you notice the absence. If someone who normally initiates conversation no longer does, you may wonder why. That's normal psychology. But this is also where relationship advice can become manipulative very quickly. You may hear that if you disappear long enough, she'll obsess over you. That uncertainty will make her unable to stop thinking about you. that withholding attention gives you psychological control. Be careful with that mindset, because the moment your goal becomes controlling her attention, you're right back where you started. Your behavior is still organized around her reaction. Maybe she becomes curious, maybe she checks her phone, maybe she wonders whether you've moved on. Maybe she feels relieved, maybe she barely notices. You don't know, and pretending you know is just another attempt to control uncertainty. The Stoic approach is stronger because it doesn't require a fantasy about what's happening inside someone else's mind. Seneca warned about becoming dependent on things fortune can remove. Another person's attention is one of those things. If your confidence depends on believing she's secretly thinking about you, then your confidence still belongs to her. Instead, let uncertainty work in both directions. She no longer knows exactly what you'll do, but you also stop pretending you know what she'll do. That's a healthier position, because now you're dealing with behavior instead of imagination. If she reaches out, you have something real to evaluate. How does she communicate? Does she acknowledge the distance? Does she make an effort? Is there greater consistency afterward? Or does she simply send enough attention to reopen the old pattern and then disappear again? This distinction matters. A message is not transformation. Missing you is not commitment. Curiosity is not reciprocity. Many men lose their position the moment contact returns because they've spent the entire silence waiting for that moment. She sends, "Hey, how have you been?" and suddenly, every boundary disappears. They reply instantly, pour out everything they've been feeling, and restore full access before anything meaningful has changed. Don't do that. Respond according to what you genuinely want, not according to relief. If you're open to speaking, speak. But let the relationship rebuild through consistent actions rather than one emotional moment. And don't deliberately make her suffer for having reached out. If you ignore her only because you want her anxiety to increase, you haven't become disciplined. You've simply changed roles in the same unhealthy game. Your goal isn't to make someone uncertain enough to chase you. Your goal is to become certain enough about your own standards that another person's temporary attention cannot make you abandon them. That's the reversal that actually matters. Not whether she starts thinking about you more, but whether you stop thinking that being thought about is the same thing as being valued. Seventh, withdrawal can reset the field, but only when you understand what you're resetting. You're not trying to move from the person being controlled to the person doing the controlling. You're trying to leave a dynamic where control has become more important than mutual respect. This distinction matters because a lot of men pull back with anger. They want her to feel what they felt. They want her to experience uncertainty, wait for replies, question herself, and finally understand what she put them through. So they use silence as punishment. That's not strength. That's resentment wearing the clothes of discipline. A Stoic withdrawal is different. You step back because continuing the old pattern no longer makes sense. There is no dramatic announcement. No, "You'll regret losing me." No final paragraph explaining everything she did wrong. No social media performance designed to prove how well you're doing without her. You simply stop participating in what you no longer accept. Distance then becomes useful because it allows you to see the connection without constantly being influenced by the next affectionate moment. When you're inside an inconsistent cycle, one good conversation can erase your memory of 5 bad weeks. Distance gives you perspective. Consistency matters too, but your consistency should be with your own decision, not with a strategy designed to provoke her. If you decided you won't chase one-sided communication anymore, don't abandon that standard because she sends one nostalgic message at midnight. Marcus Aurelius believed character is built through repeated actions. Every time you hold a reasonable boundary, you strengthen your ability to trust yourself. Every time you abandon it the moment you're offered attention, you teach yourself that your standards disappear under emotional pressure. And here's something men often overlook. Withdrawal may reveal that there is nothing worth resetting. Once you stop doing all the work, the relationship may simply end. That can hurt, but pain doesn't make the information useless. Would you rather spend another year maintaining something that only exists because you refuse to let it stop? Sometimes the ending is the clarity. If she does begin investing differently, don't rush to declare victory. Observe whether the change lasts. Healthy relationships aren't built on one person withdrawing until the other becomes anxious enough to behave differently. They're built when both people willingly participate. So use distance to evaluate, not manipulate. Ask yourself, if nothing about her behavior changed, would I still want this relationship? If the answer is no, don't allow temporary attention to distract you from what you already know. Withdrawal resets your position because it reminds you that access to your time and emotional energy is not automatic. But the greatest reset happens internally. You stop seeing yourself as someone waiting to be chosen and start behaving like someone capable of choosing too. That is the position Stoicism wants you to recover, not dominance over her, but command over yourself. Once you have that, you can make decisions based on reality rather than fear. Eighth, sometimes the dynamic changes and she becomes the one reaching out. After a period of distance, a message appears. Maybe it's casual. How have you been? Maybe she sends something that reminds her of you. Maybe she reacts to a story, mentions an old memory, or finds a reason to reopen conversation without directly addressing what happened. This is the moment many men have been waiting for, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. The relief can be immediate. You see her name and think, it worked. Suddenly you want to answer everything. Explain why you pulled back, tell her how much you've missed her, and return to the closeness you wanted all along. Slow down. Her reaching out tells you one thing. She chose to make contact. It does not tell you why. Maybe she genuinely misses you. Maybe she's curious. Maybe she's lonely. Maybe she wants reassurance that you're still available. Maybe she has reflected on her behavior and wants something more consistent. You cannot know from one message. So don't turn contact into a story before behavior supports it. This is where Stoic self-command protects you. You don't need to punish her with deliberately delayed replies. You don't need to calculate exactly how many minutes to wait so you appear important. Games are still games, even when you're the one winning them. If you want to reply, reply calmly. Keep the conversation proportional to what is actually happening. Don't immediately restore the level of emotional investment that existed before. Let effort build naturally, and watch what follows. Does she initiate again? Does she make real plans? Does she show up when she says she will? Does communication become more balanced? Does she demonstrate through repeated behavior that something has changed? Or does she receive reassurance that you're still there, and then return to the same inconsistency? That's the test that matters now, and it's not a test you're administering to her. It's reality, showing you whether the pattern has changed. Epictetus would remind you not to be carried away by appearances. One affectionate message can feel enormous when you've spent weeks without one, but its emotional impact doesn't make it evidence of a new relationship. If she becomes the seeker, don't become arrogant either. The goal was never to reverse the imbalance, so you could enjoy having power over her. If you deliberately start giving her crumbs because she once gave them to you, you've learned nothing except how to reproduce the behavior that hurt you. Meet genuine effort with genuine effort. Meet inconsistency with appropriate distance. You don't need revenge, you need discernment. And if the renewed contact develops into something healthier, let it develop without constantly reminding her of the past. Boundaries are not meant to become weapons you hold over someone forever. If trust is being rebuilt, allow actions to prove it. Because the real victory isn't watching someone who once ignored you begin chasing. The real victory is being able to receive their attention without becoming dependent on it again. Ninth, and this is where the entire lesson leads. The final shift happens when you no longer need her to chase you in order to feel that you have regained your value. At the beginning, everything was about her response. Why is she distant? Why doesn't she text the way she used to? What can I do to bring the connection back? Then you learn to stop chasing. But if you're not careful, you can remain trapped in the same obsession from the opposite direction. Now, instead of asking, why isn't she texting me? You're asking, has my silence made her miss me yet? Different question, same dependence. Real self-command begins when both questions lose their grip on you. You can appreciate someone without needing them to validate your worth. You can want a relationship without accepting any version of it that's offered. You can miss someone and still recognize that returning to the old pattern would cost you more than the temporary comfort is worth. This is where Stoicism becomes much bigger than dating advice. Marcus Aurelius wasn't teaching men how to win psychological games. Epictetus wasn't teaching people how to make someone regret losing them. They were teaching something far more demanding. Govern yourself so completely that another person's choices cannot force you to abandon your character. That means if she returns with genuine consistency, and you still care about her, you don't have to reject her simply to prove you're strong. Strength can say yes when yes is wise. And if she returns with the same crumbs, strength can say no without hatred. If she never returns, strength continues living. That's the position most men were searching for all along, even when they thought they were searching for a text message. You don't need to become unavailable to appear valuable. You need to become unwilling to repeatedly invest where reciprocity is absent. You don't need to create uncertainty in somebody else's mind. You need enough clarity in your own mind to recognize when you're being pulled back into a pattern you've already outgrown. So remember the 9 stages. Crumbs reveal your position. Inconsistency reveals your boundaries. Chasing cannot manufacture reciprocity. Pulling back may produce no immediate response. Real silence requires you to stop hovering. Uncertainty should never become a manipulation game. Withdrawal gives you perspective. If she seeks you again, evaluate consistency rather than one moment of attention. And finally, stop measuring your worth by whether she comes back at all. If this video helped you see something you've been struggling to name, subscribe to Stoic Heritage and tell me in the comments which part of this pattern was hardest for you to recognize. Then close the app, put the phone down, return to your life, because the strongest moment isn't when she finally notices your absence. It's when you realize that your future was never supposed to depend on whether she noticed it in the first place.